Alright, Fighter from 3 finally is being recorded. Now, the Golden Dome Change of Plans will not be recorded this week. Just not enough news that I could really put together. And just kind of, it didn't really connect enough, and I just didn't feel like it was the best. It didn't come out the best. I wish it could have came out better. I really do. But hey, I'll save it till I have enough for next podcast. Because at this rate, I ain't going to have very much till season starts. But, hey, this is Fighter from 3, and we are finally kicking it in gear. And let's look at now the second round of the NBA playoffs. They're here. Actually, they're being played right now. And the second round matchups are okay, that's not what I wanted. Here it is. Alright, so the Sixers right now in the that's the second round. Alright, let's go to the first round. The 76ers beat the Wizards 4-1. That was kind of surprising. I didn't think. Well, I didn't. I don't know. It was a connection of it could have happened, but it couldn't have. I had the Sixers in 5, about 4-5. So I was right on that. Nets Celtics. Brooklyn wins 4-1. I was wrong. Now, Boston competed in all those games and gave them runs for their money at times and was competitive in at least 3 quarters in a majority of the games and even won one. But ultimately, injuries and not having Jaylen Brown, and in Game 5 not having Kemba, not having Robert Williams, and the shooting just be very bad. It was a recipe for disaster and ultimately led to a loss. Honestly, I thought this could have gone farther. The Celtics definitely competed, and I think they're just going to have to build and come back next year and see what they have. Bucks, Heat, Milwaukee takes them 4 games. This one surprised me. I had Bucks in 5 to 6. I had realistically, I think I said Bucks in 5 first. Bucks in 5. They took them in 4. Which, wow. And only one went to overtime, and the rest were at least by 10? One was by almost 20, or by around 20. Actually, 2 of them were. One was a 2-point overtime win, and one was probably 15-point win? 15-20? Actually, no, that might be 30. Yeah, that's about 30, Game 3. But, Knicks, Hawks win 4-1. I had Hawks in 7. I thought this was going to be more competitive. Really, Knicks? How are you not competitive? This is why I'm glad I'm not a Knicks fan. I know a Knicks fan. Probably not happy with how they entered and exited in one swift move. But hey. They just couldn't stop Trae Young, I guess. Western Conference, Jazz beat the Grizzlies 4-1. Now, I didn't think the Jazz were gonna go 5 games. I thought they would have won in 4. But honestly, I couldn't have really. I was close. I'll give myself that, but I should have seen a potential game like that happening. Um, Mavs lose to the Clippers in 7. This is what happens when KB grabs or KP, also known as Kristaps Porzingis, isn't good enough for what you paid him. You've got the supporting cast just sucked at times, and I'm sitting here like, you're gonna get help for Luka, or is somebody gonna step up with Luka? I'm sorry, you can't just set Luka out there and just let him play and expect him to win by himself. I thought the Mavs would have took this in 6. But their bench and their role players just said, nah, we'll lose in 7. Suns, Lakers, Phoenix takes it in 6. I said 7. I really thought though if AD just wasn't injured, I think that goes to 7. I do. Although I still think Booker would have had the edge with such a Suns squad, and they would have won. Who was the last one? Or the last 2? No, I already covered Dolly. And Trailblazers lose to the Nuggets in 6. I was spot on that one. I said 6. And it was at least somewhat competitive at times, including one game go to double overtime. But games 1 and 2 are not games 1 and 2 went Trailblazers Nuggets wins, and neither were really competitive. And in the 4th, and then you had the Trailblazers. Both games they won. One home, one away. Wow. Also, I want to point out in the Clippers series, yeah, they did that. They won, and they were the only team to win a home game. Or they only won one home game. That was Game 7. They hadn't won a single home game previous. Neither team had. I heard that stat in the middle of Game 5 and Game 6, and I'm just sitting here like, really, guys? Can we really not win at home now? Is this going to be your MO for the rest of the playoffs, that you're not going to win at home? That's going to be costly. That's dangerous for a team. If you can't win on the home, but you can win on the road, that's like saying we can't win with our fans, but we can win without our fans. Why? Why are you so bad at home in that series? But now your second round is 76ers Hawks. Hawks just took the 1-0 earlier today, I think. Today or yesterday? Today, I think. 128, 124. All because Ben Simmons can't shoot from the free throw line for the night. He's struggled from the free throw line all playoffs, though. Nets, Bucks. Bucks are up, or Brooklyn's 1-0. Though that was competitive. Jazz, Clippers. Game 1 is in 2 days, 10 p.m. And Suns, Nuggets, 10 o'clock tomorrow. Now, this is going to be interesting. Because it renders some predictions wrong, but some right. Because I had Bucks 76ers, Celtics, or Bucks Celtics, Sixers, Hawks, Utah, Mavs, Suns, Denver. And I got right. 76ers, Hawks, and Suns, Denver. I think. Let me check. Wasn't it Denver that won that? Yeah, it was. So I was wrong on Utah, Mavs, and Bucks, Celtics. Wow. I got 2 matchups wrong, 2 matchups right, okay? I'm proud of myself. I usually am not the greatest with predictions, but hey. Even a clock is right 2 times a day. Even a broken clock is right 2 times a day. So, hey, I was right at one point. Now, I've got a couple quotes from players and everything that I kind of wanted to talk about. Kemba Walker was quoted saying he was a little bit down. Now, the thing about that is, yes, he can be down all he wants, but at the end of the day, he still wasn't there. He was down when the team needed somebody. And I don't blame him, but I'm just saying you can be down all you want, but you just have to show it by letting your game do the talking and stepping up next season and stepping up in the playoffs if you can make it there. To show, last year, yes, something happened, but this year I'm ready and I'm going to do what I didn't do last year. Jason Tatum was being quoted saying, "Yeah, I'm mad on being eliminated from the first round for the first time." And he apparently said this wasn't how anyone wanted the season to end, but he and the team can learn from this. That's the good thing, is this is a young team, and you get to learn from this. You get to take the experience from this year, go into next year, and you carry that experience with you, and you can hope that this team gets better next year with said experience, and I think they will. I think it's possible, I think it's probable, and I hope these guys can learn, progress, and with Danny Ainge gone and Brad Stevens moving into his spot and finding his successor, if you bring in a good enough guy that can help develop this young team and you keep this young core together, this is a good team. It is. I will say that once, I will say that twice, I will say it 100 times this offseason. You keep this core together, you let it develop, you could have something there. I like this core, I really do. Also, Kemba Walker said it has been quote-unquote really tough to deal with this, especially during the playoffs. He came to Boston to experience high-intensity games. He hopes to get healthy again over the offseason. Quote, "I've got to get right." That ties into my previous point, but also, yeah, you got to get right, but you also can't blame yourself for getting hurt, in a way. You can't necessarily blame yourself as much as just your body, and just, it was something that happened, and you got to take it as, yes, this happened, but I got to step up next time and show that I belong here. And I think he can do that. But it's not about what I think he can do, it's about what he can do. Jason Tatum also became the 11th player to average at least 30 points per game during a playoff run in an in an age 22 season or younger per stat head. He's 23, but it's based on how old the player was on February 1st. Wow. That was during the game. Actually, it was 10th, and Luka was supposed to join that club again for the second time this season. And Jamorant was on pace to do so. That is according to Jay King, so if that's wrong and he's 11th, I'm sorry. My information comes from this guy, so if I'm wrong, he's wrong, and I'm wrong because he's wrong. Not my fault. Yeah, I've got a couple cycle through. Brad Stevens said the Celtics have really, quote unquote, really good foundation, or really good foundational people in our building. And quote unquote, we can get better, and we will. We'll go through all those avenues to get there. Now, looking at Brad Stevens and him moving up, and this is a new challenge, and he's excited to face it, which I'm glad he is. I'm all for it as long as you can step up to the challenge and prove you belong in the front office and prove you can do this job. And that means you keep some of these fundamental people around. But if you don't do that, and you barely keep anybody around, well, what happened to this quote, huh? I'm going to hold on to this quote, I think. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. It all depends on what he wants to do. Jason Tatum says he likes the way the first and second year Celtics played this season. Said tonight, that was his press conference during the right after the last game. Might have been Romeo, talking about Romeo Langford. Romeo's best game all season. Said there's something to build on for those guys, and I definitely agree with this quote. This is something I've really agreed with for a while. That you've got a strong foundation here, and you've got a lot of guys that can build on that. You've just got to give them the time, and you've got to build on that through letting them develop and developing them, and just... I could talk about this forever and hammer the same points away and hammer them home, but I've already said it enough in my video that I did on this. So if you want to hear those points more fleshed out, go see that. But Tristan Thompson was quoted as saying, "This team fought the entire way. Anyone who knows basketball knows we were undermanned. For our team, it was really tough. We never really had a full roster for more than a game or two. That was the frustrating part." Now, I get it from the standpoint of the players. It's frustrating when your team is injured and you get injured and you don't necessarily have that full roster for the playoffs. But it all comes down to how can you perform, and that's where I will say it depends on how you can... How can you use that to your advantage? How can you step up in the absence of other guys? How can you pick up the slack in a way? And you've got to do that. You can't just go, they were injured, it sucked, but we just didn't try. You've got to try no matter what. And I honestly do like Tristan Thompson being here, and he brings some experience, but honestly, I don't think he'll be here any longer. And that sucks to say, but I'm sorry. I don't know if I want him here anymore. I think we need somebody else at center that's going to perform and is going to be great at that spot, or can be great with development. Wick Grosbeck said he was talking to Brad Stevens about helping with a search for Danny Ainge's successor, and then told Brad maybe he should throw his name in the hat. And yeah, no, that ain't happening. I don't think that would happen. I don't. I think you got to bring in somebody like a Chauncey Billups or not Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd struggled to stay on teams, and I wouldn't necessarily like Kidd anyways. But there's a couple guys that I think could be beneficial to bring in. Kidd's not one of those. Although I like Jason Kidd, I don't like him as coach. I think you got to find a guy that you know can develop players, and that's what you'll have to do for this coaching or for the players. Brad Stevens was quoted as saying, "I loved coaching, but this is a new challenge, and this is what we need to do to hopefully be even better." He said he hopes to find a good coach and be empowering like Ainge was for him. I'm all for that. I love the attitude of Stevens when he says this. And I love that he's like, yeah, we need to bring in somebody who I can empower and I can trust, but I also think I can do my job. I think if I do my job right, we can be better. And this is a new challenge. I want to do it. I want to see what I can do, and I want to see if I can make us better. I can't wait to do my job and see what I can do. And I can't wait to see how this team does after I'm put up, basically, is the kind of attitude he's gotten. I like it. I like he's got confidence. I like I want him to be. I want him to see it as a challenge, a new challenge, and I want to see him do his best with the passion. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm hoping for. Is that going to happen? I don't know, but I'm hoping, I'm pleading that it happens, that he does. Danny Ainge said this was his decision. Said he started thinking about it when he had his heart attack 2 years ago. Then these last 2 years have been tough with the bubble and all the protocols. Said the job hasn't been as much fun because of that. Now, I said in my video about this. I get it. It was his decision. I respect the decision. I get it. It sucks to see him go. I didn't want to see him go, but respect. And hopefully one day we can look back and say, at least I can look back with someone and say, hey, remember when Ainge was GM of the Celtics? And remember the moves he made? Like I do sometimes. I'm like, remember the moves he made? Like building the big three, bringing in Pierce, the moves he won. Some of the big trades he won. Some of the deals he's made. The way he's built this team. I'm glad I can look at it in a positive way, and I hope in the future I can look back in a positive way at Danny Ainge's tenure as a coach, beside his tenure as a player, and be happy with what he did. And I wish everybody the best with that, with how both of them are moving, or both him and Stevens are moving around, and one's leaving and one's moving up and everything. I really hope that everything goes right for these guys and hope for the best. And Danny Ainge was also quoted of saying, I've always trusted my instincts and they told me this is the right time. I get it. He did it at what time he thought was right. He left the team in good hands. And I wish him nothing but the best. I'm proud of what he's done here, and I hope he can succeed wherever he goes and whatever he does. I'm cheering for him. Brad Stevens called it a quote-unquote an honor to be trusted with this responsibility. And then he also said, quote-unquote, today I'm not the story. He wants to celebrate Ainge instead. And that's another thing I like Stevens' attitude. He doesn't want it to be all about him. He wants to not only show that, yes, it was an honor to be selected here and I'm glad I'm here, but I also want to honor the guy who just left, someone who's done good and bad, but he's also done a lot of good here. And we should be proud of that. Danny Ainge said he believes Brad Stevens was, quote-unquote, born for this, regaining his new reel as the president of basketball operations. Ainge said he thinks this is actually a, quote-unquote, a big step forward for this team. I think it depends on how Stevens plays out. But nonetheless, I'm happy he moved up. I hope he can select somebody great to step in his spot. And hey, maybe he can be another Danny Ainge where he's remembered as the guy who finesses everybody for players. They come in, they play for more, or they play better than they actually usually will be in other spots, and they perform, they play well. He finesses other teams. I hope he can be remembered as something on his own, but also potentially something like that. But hey, I can't wait to see what he can do. And then Kevin Durant was quoted as saying, I had series against Kobe, LeBron, Tim Duncan. Jason Tatum is in that conversation now because he's an elite level of player. Already at 23, it was an honor to play against him. And then Jason Tatum said, earn the respect of the guys you looked up to. And Honestly, I'm proud of Jason Tatum for what he's done for this team already at such a young age. At 23. 23, yeah. Um, he's been here for a while. I'm proud of him. He's a great player. I can't wait to see what he can do in the future. I can't wait to see what he can potentially blossom into. And seeing him regarded by someone like KD, even though I think he's a snake for leaving the Thunder, and I will always think that, he's still a great player. And the respect level between these two guys is real. And I'm happy it's there. And that just shows how much of a great personality not only is Jason Tatum, but it just shows how good he is compared to other greats in the sport right now, and other great guys in the sport currently. But anyways, this has been Fighter from 3. I will see you guys next week. Hopefully Notre Dame comes out with some news and I can record all 3 again. Sadly, I couldn't this week. I didn't have enough. I tried. But anyways, this has been Fighter from 3. I will see you next week.